Excellent. All right. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Ricky Pack, and I am an assistant professor in the Department of Drama here at Syracuse University. And on behalf of the Department of Drama, the College of Visual and Performing Arts Office of Advancement, and my collaborators you see on screen, we would like to welcome you all to tonight's virtual reading of the final episode of Impact, Past, Present, Future. Now, throughout this process, we've been thankful for the work of Elisa DeCaney and the committee of the VPA Creative and Research Grant, Kate Hansen from the Syracuse Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement, or SOURCE Office, Tracy Tybel and Mike Granis from the VPA Office of Advancement, Ralph Zito from the Department of Drama, and Erica Blust from the VPA Office of Communications for all the hard work and support behind the scene to make this reading and scholarship possible, including Renee Yang, current SU Drama Design student, for helping us to create the virtual backgrounds you see, and of course, Melissa Moore, who's transcribing our show this evening.
By now, we're probably all pro audience members with theater on Zoom, but just a few housekeeping items before we begin. This evening's reading is best viewed in gallery view, so you might want to adjust your screen right now.
The reading itself will be about 35 to 45 minutes long, and then we'll have a 15 to 20-minute Q&A after which will be facilitated through the chat bar, probably about an hour or so for the whole thing.
To access that chat, click the chat icon on the bottom of your screen and go ahead and enter any questions or comments you might have there. The chat bar is the closest thing we have to the live audience feeling, so feel free to use it throughout the reading.
As always, we would like to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University currently exists.
We invite our audience to take a moment to use the link that is now in the chat. Type your zip code into the search and see whose ancestral lands you currently reside on for a moment of acknowledgement and respect. Feel free to add the names of those nations into the chat as well.
Great. Hopefully, after watching the first 3 episodes, we can see how much we have directly benefited from our ancestors' roles in the forced removal, stolen land, and genocide of this country's indigenous people in order to create the nation that we live in and benefit from today, including this institution that we all love so very much, Syracuse University.
But this isn't about laying guilt and blame. It's about learning from our mistakes and doing what we can to help right the wrongs of our past by setting forth action in the present to help shape our future.
The shores of Onondaga Lake, right here in present-day central New York, was the birthplace of democracy, and we owe that to the Haudenosaunee.
Tonight's episode spans 30 years of university history, from 1990 to the present, and some reflections of the next 10 years as well.
In this era, we ran into a problem that was almost the exact opposite of some of our previous episodes. Instead of struggling to find primary sources of information about the university's history, we had an overabundance.
There was so much that we wanted to include in this episode, but we couldn't due to time constraints.
And there are so many amazing stories about people from diverse backgrounds that we wanted to give voice to, but we won't be able to because there simply were not enough SU drama students from diverse backgrounds available to perform for tonight's episode, which is an issue we've run into before.
We're in that time of the year when rehearsals, performances, and schoolwork are in full swing, and the availability of students is harder to come by, especially for the few BIPOC students that are currently in the department.
But hopefully this highlights even more the need to have these diverse voices in our department and the importance of contributing to the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship.
Now, through our work this past year, which was funded by the VPA Creative and Research Grant and the SOURCE Office, and the incredible generosity of the Gerald A. Daphne Kramer Foundation Corporation, facilitated by Lauren B. Kramer, class of 1994, chair of the VPA Council, we were able to establish the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship, named after a beloved associate professor of theater design and technology in the department from 2002 to 2019, who was a fierce advocate for our diverse students.
You all have done an amazing job of getting the word out and raising funds for the scholarship, and we are so grateful for that.
Just over a year ago today, our initial goal was to raise $2,200 $22,500 through this series of readings about the history of Syracuse University in celebration of the 150th birthday.
Through the generosity of the Kramer Foundation and Corporation, we were able to surpass that goal before we even began with their initial endowment. So we wanted to stretch our goal and continue to raise $22,500 to help further seed the scholarship.
Though we did not hit our stretch fundraising goal this year, we are grateful to all those who contributed, adding a further $5,142 to this scholarship.
Our hope is to hold a fundraising event each year, highlighting the story of an underrepresented person from Syracuse history, so we can continue to grow the scholarship so that it aids our underrepresented students in drama in a way that matches the full rides that so many SU athletes receive for attending our institution.
And the great thing about the scholarship is that you can always choose to give no matter what time of the year. Just make sure to specify the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship whenever you make a donation to the university. It's always a good time to make an impact.
Impact Past, Present, Future is an exploration of the history of Syracuse University and an examination of our values as an institution.
It's a celebration of our successes and a reflection on our failures.
It highlights the contributions and stories of so many diverse people who have been with Syracuse University since our founding.
Stories that made us laugh and made us cry, or sometimes just plain confused us.
But most importantly, they are stories that compel us to do better.
We hope that you enjoy the presentation. So here we go. Previously on Impact, Past, Present, Future.
In the first 120 years of SU's history, we learned a lot of amazing things about our university.
From the journeys of the first chairman of the Board of Trustees and founder of Syracuse University, Jesse Truesdell Peck.
The conditions of admission shall be equal to all persons. There shall be no invidious discrimination here against women. Brains and heart shall have a fair chance. The new university shall demonstrate the perfect harmony of indissoluble oneness of all that is valuable in the old and the new.
To Chancellor William Tolley taking in Japanese American students to save them from internment camps.
A person's color or political background or what others thought of them made no difference. If they were committed to learning, there was no reason to bar them from attending Syracuse University.
To the importance of the Daily Orange as a voice of its students.
Any paper can be a better paper. Any student, a better student. Any university, a better university.
We learned from the numerous strikes of 1969 and 1970.
Students have begun to realize that they are not powerless, that one is only a pawn as long as one agrees to be a pawn. And with that knowledge, real work toward political change can begin here and across the country.
We learned that COVID-19 was not the first nor the worst plague to hit our community with the Great Flu epidemic of 1918.
But it was the first to ruin the celebration of the university's 150th birthday in 2020. And despite that, the university still found a way to make lemonade from lemons. From the Daily Orange, April 26, 2020.
Before the coronavirus pandemic, Syracuse University planned to give t-shirts to students and alumni as part of its 150th anniversary celebration. Instead, the university distributed the shirts to its essential workers with instructions for turning them into protective masks.
But most importantly, we learned that from the beginning, Syracuse University was founded on a belief that our hallowed grounds should be open for all people, regardless of race or gender.
But with 150 years of history to examine, we've seen that oftentimes we fail at making all people feel welcome, included, and valued.
And sometimes we have even instigated a culture of violence in the name of tradition and history.
A culture of violence at SU that is sometimes absurd, like the graphophone riots, salt wars, and students brawling deans over diplomas.
The forms of violence that are more insidious, like the joke of the discovery of the Onondaga Chief's remains on SU grounds, which led to the creation of the school mascot, the Saltine Warrior.
Or the perpetuation, whether conscious or unconscious, of white supremacist values, as seen in instances that led to events like the Syracuse 8 or the numerous protests we will see in this era.
Another trend we see is the lack of transparency and communication with the administration and its students. Of course, the saying goes that hindsight is 20/20, but too often our students see the problems and the solutions all too clearly, but we, the administration and the faculty, are too slow to respond.
Which constantly puts us in a reactive mode instead of a proactive one.
In our examinations, we are constantly reminded that no one person or institution is wholly good or evil, moral or amoral. We are all a mix of both that is constantly struggling, learning, and growing.
The history of Syracuse University has shown us, as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paraphrased of abolitionist minister Theodore Parker, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
After all, it was only within my lifetime that we went from the racist mascot of the Saltine Warrior to Otto.
As we learned from the previous episode, the university mascot, Big Chief Bill Orange, was finally retired in 1978, but only after the intervention of an indigenous student named Doug George Canentillo. When George Canentillo finally confronted then Chancellor Melvin Eggers, Eggers responded by saying,
"I've been waiting for you. I've long been willing to take steps to remove the Saltine Warrior as the university's mascot, but lacked the organized representation needed to act on this vision."
If we take Eggers' words to heart, what he is saying is that he knew that having the Saltine Warrior as the university's mascot was wrong, but it wasn't until a student stepped up that he was willing to take action.
This leads to a final recurring theme that we see forming in this current era of SU's history: the inability of the university to take action on issues that are morally wrong until it is finally pressed into action by its students.
Take, for example, the final chapter of the story of Otto, the university mascot.
Last episode, we learned that in 1980, cheerleader Eric Heath designed and crafted a costume for an orange that would go on to be named Otto, as a replacement for the racist mascot that had been in use for nearly 50 years.
It would take another 15 years for the university to officially recognize the iconic mascot. From fraternity sorority historian Dr. Fran Beck.
In 1995, an 18-member committee was appointed to recommend a logo and mascot. The committee offered 3 choices: a lion, a wolf, or the orange that was already in use. The committee recommended the wolf.
However, a successful campaign by the students who had worn the orange costume led Chancellor Ken Shaw to name Otto as the official mascot in December 1995.
So even though Otto had already been around for 15 years and was wildly popular with the students, if the administration had its way, we would have been the Syracuse University Wolves.
And if it weren't for the last-ditch effort of students to convince the administration otherwise, we'd all be howling at our sports games, joining the ranks of so many other colleges and universities, such as
Newbury College Wolves.
Northern State University Wolves.
University of West Georgia Wolves.
Western Oregon University Wolves.
University of Alaska Anchorage Wolves.
Cayuga College Wolves.
Wesleyan College Wolves.
North Carolina State University Wolfpack.
University of Nevada Wolfpack.
New Mexico State University Lobos.
Sul Ross State University Lobos.
Nebraska Wesleyan University Prairie Wolves.
Arkansas State University Red Wolves.
Stony Brook University Seawolves.
Sonoma State University Seawolves.
Colorado State University Pueblo Thunderwolves.
Northwood University Timberwolves.
Not to mention the thousands of high schools that have a wolf mascot.
Yeah, I don't get it. Would we have been the Syracuse University Orange Wolves? That doesn't even exist in nature.
It's thanks to the actions of the students like Doug George Canentillo, working with then Chancellor Eggers, and the ones who led the campaign to change Chancellor Shaw's mind, that we have our lovable and, more importantly, non-racist mascot, Otto, today.
And it only took 125 years or so to begin to take the steps needed to right the many wrongs we've done to the Haudenosaunee Nation.
From the Daily Orange, January 2018.
A new Haudenosaunee Promise Scholarship that offers free tuition to students living in Haudenosaunee territory has increased the Indigenous student population, says Saunders Webb, the professor emeritus.
Visible from the bronze statue of the Saltine Warrior, a purple Haudenosaunee flag flies in front of Hendricks Chapel alongside the American flag and university flag. The university now celebrates Indigenous Peoples Day rather than Columbus Day, and tributes to the Onondaga Nation are often made before major campus events.
Professor Scott Manning Stevens, the director of Native American and Indigenous Studies, called these installations
symbolic, but highly significant.
A new Council on Diversity and Inclusion was created by Chancellor Kent Severud and took the initiative on most of these projects for Indigenous inclusivity.
40 years after he helped abolish the Saltine Warrior mascot, though, George Canantillo said he failed in his goal to expand SU's Indigenous studies to its full potential while he was at SU.
George Canantillo, whose daughter and niece both attended SU, said he has seen flaws in the Indigenous studies curriculum, including not enough Indigenous professors teaching Indigenous studies. He said he has hopes of speaking to Syverud about the academic potential and increased number of prospective Indigenous students can bring to Syracuse.
He goes on to say that he still has hopes of Syracuse University becoming a national leader, an example for others in Indigenous studies.
As we learned from the previous era, student protests have always been a prime motivator of change on our campus, but not all forms of protest had to take the forms of sit-ins and marches.
Sometimes students got really creative.
From the Global Nonviolent Action Database, June 2011.
In 2000, students around the country protested sweatshop manufactured college apparel. Students at Syracuse University protested using a variety of different tactics, including a naked bicycle ride through campus.
Chancellor Shaw was apprehensive to join the Workers' Rights Consortium because SU was already a member of the Fair Labor Association. Because the FLA was associated with Nike, a company that utilized sweatshops, and other corporations, the students wanted to switch memberships to the WRC. The consortium advocated for full disclosure of factory locations and factory conditions, as well as random inspections and independent monitoring.
The student organization, Student Coalition on Organized Labor, school, with approximately 20 members, led the campaign. United Students Against Sweatshops, USAS, supported all of their efforts.
In late March of 2000, 12 Syracuse students biked nude across campus. Their message was nonverbal, but clear. If their clothing was made in a sweatshop, they were not going to wear it, or anything at all for that matter. After this event, SU's Student Government Association joined as partners in the cause.
For the next several months, members of school created enormous banners and held some low-key events to try to get their message across. On October 29th, 2000, school held a rally at the SU School of Law campus. Their goal, once again, was for Syracuse University to join the WRC. This rally initiated school's Sweatshop Awareness Week, which ended on November 3rd. Throughout the entire week, students camped out on the campus quad and held candlelight vigils and mock sweatshop and various theater shows.
Finally, on March 27, 2001, Chancellor Shaw announced his decision to sign on to the Worker Rights Consortium, a huge victory for school. Shaw changed his mind based on the new direction of the WRC and its new leader, Scott Nova. The campaign proved itself fairly successful. Shaw did, however, decide for Syracuse University to remain a member of the FLA as well.
It just goes to show that sometimes when students get cheeky, they get the job done.
And sometimes you will see that the job never ends, a job that no student should rightly bear.
They are, after all, supposed to be the ones that are here to get an education, not the ones doing the educating.
Unfortunately, we are about to see how that hasn't been the case for some of our most vulnerable students, the very ones that the scholarship is intended to help.
The stories of this era that stood out the most to us are all stories we actually can't tell in full because we don't have the cast to give full voice to all the underrepresented people who have been at the heart of all these actions.
Actions that we saw that had a direct line of cause and effect, like dominoes, from the beginning of this era to our present.
But we're going to tell these stories with the best of our limitations, starting close to home, here in the Department of Drama.
Take the note.
The beginning of the new millennium saw a nationwide increase of protests on college campuses due to the involvement of the United States in the Middle East, amongst other national and global political events.
However, the focus in the most recent decade has turned from how the university interacts with the larger world to how the university interacts with its students. National racial reckoning in the spring of 2020 leads to larger conversations regarding institutional racism in theater and theater education programs.
Take the note SU drama. Notes are given to actors in an effort to improve a performance. Generally speaking, notes are meant to be constructive. Theater etiquette dictates that when an actor is given a note, it is not open for discussion or an explanation of why an actor made particular choices. The actor needs to just take the note.
So, when the open letter was penned and shared by both BIPOC and white SU drama alumni in the spring of 2020, telling the department to take the note, it was time to make some changes.
June 2020, via a variety of social media posts and emails to the Department of Drama, call to action to Syracuse University's Drama Department.
After speaking with current students and multiple alumni from Syracuse University's Department of Drama, we have come to the conclusion that the pervasive institutional racism that has plagued the department for years must be addressed and corrected.
The letter includes direct quotations from students detailing racist incidents in the department and 20 demands.
An investigation and swift removal of faculty who are guilty of initiating and encouraging racial micro and macro aggressions, cultural appropriation, and verbal abuse against BIPOC students.
Any faculty member who is removed for engaging in any of the aforementioned actions will be replaced by BIPOC hire. The overall numbers for BIPOC faculty must be 50% of the Department of Drama faculty by 2025.
Hiring an accountability and student experience representative. This person must be an outside hire to establish true neutrality and accountability.
Hiring an intimacy director.
Abolishing the phrase colorblind casting from the department's vernacular.
Faculty will undergo implicit bias, equity, and diversity training.
A complete reorganization of Senior Showcase, in which all graduating senior performance majors are given the opportunity to participate and have a voice in the creation, rehearsal process, and production of Showcase.
Any and all forms of media that perpetuate racist stereotypes can no longer be used for promotional purposes for the Department of Drama.
A formal apology on behalf of the Department of Drama to its past and current BIPOC students.
Commitment to diversifying the student body by providing greater accessibility for prospective students from marginalized communities to apply and audition.
Establishing financial aid and scholarships specifically for BIPOC students.
An anti-racist curriculum and syllabus review system at the beginning of each semester to ensure a range of diversity in the theatrical material being assigned across all majors. This includes, but is not limited to, acting scene work, design tech assignments, and musical theater songs.
Faculty will be required to provide structure and transparency in their grading process to their students.
Creating appropriate policies and accommodations for Black students' hair and makeup needs in the department productions. Hairdressers should be educated in styling all types of hair textures.
The selection and casting of department productions will be made on the basis of best practices to serve the student body as a whole, regardless of the artistic ambition of the faculty or guest director. Core cultural, sexual, or gender identities of marginalized students will not present a barrier to casting opportunities.
The Student Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, EDI, representative candidates will undergo an interview process and application before they are approved to run for this position. The current EDI rep will head this committee with the new accountability and student experience representative assisting as needed.
If one or more students decline casting in a department show or later drop out during rehearsals due to a race-related incident, The show must be immediately put on hold and put under review by the EDI rep and the accountability and student experience representative.
A wider selection of scenes written by BIPOC playwrights must be made available to students as sophomore evaluation options.
The department will host more master classes with BIPOC professionals from outside Syracuse University.
More effective forums than town halls will be instated for BIPOC students to share their experiences and voice their concerns about racism and discrimination within the department.
The letter concludes with the following.
The faculty have a responsibility as educators and fellow artists to create a safe space where anyone of any background can feel supported in their education. They have failed and continue to fail us in that regard. Through their continued inaction, they have taught their BIPOC students to endure mistreatment while teaching their peers to sit back and watch.
As alumni and current students that represent Syracuse University's Department of Drama, we feel it is our responsibility to hold this institution accountable for its repeated offenses. It is our job to ensure these wrongs are never inflicted on current and future students again. We cannot, in good faith, recommend this school to prospective students until changes are made. Of course, we understand that this will take some time. We look forward to hearing from you in 72 hours.
The letter has over 650 signatures.
There was a response from the department within 24 hours.
The Daily Orange on June 17th, 2020, reported some of the response from Ralph Zito, department chair.
I affirm that our Black, Indigenous, and people of color students and alumni deserve better, as does our whole community. And I apologize for my actions and/or inactions that have added to your pain. I pledge my full advocacy in behalf of swift and meaningful action, open communication, and accountability by those responsible for decision-making.
SU Drama has already taken steps toward meeting some of the demands, including the implementation of anti-racism training for faculty and staff and the reorganization of the Senior Showcase.
We have been examining the entire history of Syracuse University with the specific purpose of strengthening diversity and inclusion within the SU Drama department by fostering accessibility.
This moment right here is a part of the drama department doing the work, but the fight isn't a new one, and the work must be systemic.
But before SU Drama was told to take the note.
From Syracuse.com, November 22nd, 2019. In the past 13 days, 12 cases of racist and anti-Semitic graffiti have been found on or near Syracuse University. Over those 2 weeks, the FBI, Syracuse Police, and New York State Police have joined investigations into the incidents. Students have held a week-long sit-in and called for Syverud's resignation.
Here's a timeline of incidents that sparked the protests and investigations.
November 7th, 2019, SU authorities are alerted by students about racist graffiti found overnight in bathrooms on the 4th and 6th floors of Day Hall, a first-year dorm.
November 12th, SU announces the discovery of racist graffiti in the physics building's bathroom.
November 13th, the student sit-in at the Barn Setter begins.
November 14th, a swastika is found at 4:35 p.m., drawn into snow off campus on Comstock Avenue near the 505 apartment building.
November 15th, racist graffiti against Asian people is discovered on the 3rd floor of Day Hall.
November 16th, racial graffiti and a swastika are reported found at Haven Hall. A student on campus reports an incident involving a student yelling a racial epithet that is derogatory to African Americans. SU also confirms it's investigating a hateful email directed at several members of the campus community. In the evening, an African American woman told SU officials someone shouted the N-word as she walked near College Place, a main road on campus with bus stops that are near the Alpha Chi Rho house.
November 17th. Syverud suspends Alpha Chi Rho and suspends all social activities of all fraternities on campus.
November 18th, more racist graffiti is discovered in Day Hall on the 5th floor. Later that night, SU receives multiple reports that a white supremacist manifesto was posted to an online forum, then deleted. Shortly before midnight, Syracuse police are notified that someone at Byrd Library tried to share with nearby students a manifesto, appearing to be a copy of one authored by the perpetrator of the mosque shootings in March in New Zealand via Apple's airdrop function. To date, officials say they have not found a single person who received the manifesto. Later, Syverud called the airdrop incident a hoax.
November 21st, SU says it's investigating 4 more racist incidents. 2 involve racist graffiti targeting African Americans found on the 5th and 6th floors of Day Hall. A post-it with anti-Native American language on it was found on the 1st floor of Flint Hall. In the 4th incident, anti-Asian graffiti was found at the Comstock Art Facility.
Shortly after students returned from Thanksgiving break, the semester was cut short due to campus safety concerns.
From USA Today, February 19th, 2020. The Black-led movement, Not Again SU, launched its second sit-in, this time at Krause-Heinz Hall with more than 20 students on Monday. They charged that the school failed to address issues of racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and white supremacy that prompted Not Again SU's initial protests in November.
The university's Department of Public Safety sealed off the building and hasn't allowed in food or medicine since Tuesday, according to the Daily Orange.
From the Spectrum Local News on March 10th, 2020, Not Again SU has been occupying an administration building for 23 days. Last week, students spent 14 hours negotiating with campus leadership, and they're asking to continue the conversations.
The students want to establish in writing what has and has not been agreed to, and they want the university to take time to make changes so Black students can feel included on campus.
On Monday, the students say they met with the university's independent advisory panel, a group of 4 experts hired to review the campus culture and strengthen diversity and inclusion.
Students say the university did not allow the advisory panel to meet with them at the time, so the panel wrote a note that the university said it would deliver. The students say they never got the message.
The students say they are still discussing their plan for spring break and afterward. When we spoke to them this afternoon, it was right as the university was announcing its plan to move to online classes in the wake of the coronavirus.
Spectrum News reached out to Syracuse University for comment and has not heard back.
Of course, by spring break of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic was in full swing, and no students would be returning to campus. But not before the university would hire former Attorney General Loretta Lynch to do a full investigation of the Department of Public Safety's response to the protests. But more on that later.
Because Not Again SU was not the first protest that called into question the administration's treatment of its underrepresented students. Not even close. About 2 years earlier, there was Recognize Us, SU.
From the Daily Orange, April 21st, 2018.
Members of the Recognize Us movement, a social coalition organized at Syracuse University this week to advocate for minority students, promised unbending and unbroken opposition to university administrators if they fail to fulfill student demands in the wake of the Theta Tau video release.
We demand that the administration shifts away from its corporatist tendencies and dedicates more of its endowment to cultivating a center of inclusivity, culture, higher learning, and social progress for all, the movement said in a statement released Saturday afternoon.
Recognize Us, in its statement, said they believe the administration has made it clear they failed to support people of color, religious minorities, people with disabilities, the LGBTQ community, and others.
The statement came hours after Chancellor Kent Syverud announced that Theta Tau's permanent expulsion for its involvement in the creation of a video he called racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, ableist, and sexist. Theta Tau was initially suspended on Wednesday.
The statement also came before the Daily Orange published a second video showing people in Theta Tau's house miming the sexual assault of a person with disabilities.
The movement said the university promised in 2014 to fix those issues, but added that their response in the last 4 years has been far from enough.
The voice is not heard by the administration at Hendricks Chapel made that very clear, Recognize Us said, referring to a Hendricks forum on Wednesday night.
Story after story recounted feelings of exclusion, dejection, and pain owing to the lack of accessibility and support on this campus from the institutions that are supposed to protect and serve us.
The coalition hopes SU administrators will continue to engage with the student body to cultivate a community that provides justice for all, according to the statement.
Recognize Us organized the Shine protest on Friday, where Syverud apologized for missing the Wednesday night Hendricks Forum.
Students presented a list of demands to Syverud at the sit-in. Among other points on the list, Recognize Us demanded that the university organize a town hall with the chancellor, board of trustees, administrators, and deans by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m.
Chancellor Kent Syverud, in a campus-wide email on Thursday evening, said Syracuse University, in response to the suspension of SU's Theta Tau fraternity chapter, is planning to start a top-to-bottom review of all Greek life policies, activities, and culture this week.
Because, unfortunately, this was not the first time that the actions of a fraternity caused campus-wide protests.
When looking at past protests, the first of the most recent student protest movements was the General Body, a coalition of over 50 student organizations which banded together in the fall of 2014. In an article published in 2015, members outlined their mission.
From the Daily Orange, the General Body issues statement the General Body issues statement 1 year after sit-in.
TGB is not an institution. The group arose organically among hundreds of students when it became clear that the new administration and Fast Forward initiative was making drastic changes affecting diversity, resources, and transparency between administration and SU students, faculty, alumni, staff, and the broader Syracuse community.
Note the reference to the new administration above. Kent Syverud had just taken over as chancellor the previous spring semester. So this cycle of protests has been uniquely focused on our current administration. We also see a bunch of parallels between this first protest and the more recent ones we just outlined.
From the Daily Orange, explaining the General Body's history and grievances.
As a group, TGB identified major issues within the university and compiled them into a list of grievances, needs, and solutions. The 45-page document was originally presented on November 3rd, 2014, following a Diversity and Transparency DAT rally planned by TGB on the steps of Hendricks Chapel. More than 100 members of the SU community attended the rally.
Following the DAT rally, protesters walked to Krause-Heinz Hall, where the SU administrative offices, including that of Chancellor Kent Syverud, are located, with the goal of delivering their document of grievances and demands. Protesters were met by Kevin Quinn, Senior Vice President for Public Affairs, John Sardino, Associate Chief for the Department of Public Safety, and Daniel French, General Counsel for the university, and found that the doors to the building were locked.
Later, protesters found a way to get inside the building, and more than 40 students planned to spend the night. Yanira Rodriguez, one of the rally organizers, said the plan was to stay in the building until November 6, 2014, when the SU Board of Trustees would meet and vote on a new mission and vision statement. She added in an interview with the Daily Orange, "We're not going away until we get a public statement from the chancellor."
They ended up staying much longer than expected, and with their determination to have their demands heard and met, inevitable clashes with university officials followed.
Sounds familiar.
History repeating.
On day 13, the students who remained in the building after it officially closed for the weekend were told they were allowed to leave, but couldn't return until Monday morning. Food was allowed to be delivered twice a day.
Then they were hand-delivered envelopes labeled with their names and IDs, which contained copies of the Student Code of Conduct and highlighted several policies that could be met with judicial enforcement. The students didn't take this too seriously, though, considering that they weren't being starved, automatically suspended, and misidentified, and they remained for another 5 days. However, some thought it would be good to get some advice from faculty advocates. More history repeating.
From a Daily Orange article published on November 16th, 2014.
On Friday, after students were handed copies of the Code of Conduct, Janice McDonald, a tenured professor in the SU College of Law, said students asked her if she could drop by Krause-Heinz to explain the policy and the university's judicial process. McDonald arrived at the building Saturday morning, but was not allowed inside. McDonald said when she first got to Krause-Heinz on Saturday, she was asked to wait outside. Students would be allowed to come outside to ask her questions and then would be allowed back in the building. However, a short time later, she said she received a phone call from the Department of Public Safety Associate Chief, John Sardino, saying students would not be allowed to come outside to talk with McDonald and return inside the building. She said,
"I just wanted to go in and explain the Student Code of Conduct and answer questions about what it may mean, and I was refused the opportunity. It would have been a half an hour to an hour and wouldn't have been a problem. The administration has now caused a real uproar amongst faculty members.
In an email to the SU community Sunday evening, Vice Chancellor and Provost Eric Spina said,
"Today and going forward, a process will be developed so that legal advisement can be provided in the building even when it is closed."
Spina also said that in the November 12th final response sent to student protesters, the university made clear that going forward,
the Code of Student Conduct would be in consideration and that any previous violations would not be pursued by any means.
Ben Kubrick, one of the organizers of the sit-in, said the group has been in contact with McDonald and a representative from the American Civil Liberties Union over the phone. While being able to talk through questions on the phone is helpful, Kubrick said people often need to be assured by legal representation, and it can be useful to have someone in person to speak with the entire group of students. Kubrick said,
It's a right given to prisoners to seek legal counsel, and unfortunately, it's not one given to student leaders trying to change the university.
Back to the 1 year later article in 2015, the general body goes on to say,
We believe that a similar coalition could just as easily arise again, either using TGB type model or an entirely different one. When faced with injustice, we encourage everyone to find others and rise in solidarity with them. What's the situation at SU now? The Syverud administration has a directive from the Board of Trustees to enact policies of austerity all along with skyrocketing tuition costs, so they continue to proceed accordingly. Since TGB began pointing to the issues, we have seen the administration continue in the same manner as regards numerous concerns on campus.
while meeting the demands of the general body was a long process, by 2015, Chancellor Syverud announced the initiation of the Chancellor's Diversity and Inclusion Work Group, and multiple spots for students were added to various university administrative committees.
Since his appointment in the fall of 2013, Chancellor Kent Syverud's administration has faced student protests regarding the university's treatment of its underrepresented students every 2 to 4 years.
surely some of the issues he inherited from previous administrations and the predominantly white institution that Syracuse was founded as, but many lay at the feet of his own decisions.
From the Daily Orange, June 2020, a guest column from Syracuse resident Jennifer Masters entitled Black Lives Don't Matter to SU Administration.
On Saturday night, a protester was killed in Louisville, Kentucky, when a man opened fire. Senator Tom Cotton's Republican in Arkansas, New York Times piece, "Send in the Troops," and the rhetoric of the Trump administration has undeniably contributed to this terrifying reality. Peaceful protesters have been marching in Syracuse for 4 weeks. Yesterday, there was a small rally in support of the police on Erie Boulevard. Tensions are high. Our democracy is at stake. Our city is at stake. Lives are at stake.
I wrote the following letter earlier this week. Now it seems almost quaint because nothing is theoretical anymore. I'm still going to send it, however, because the murder of a protester doesn't alter my message. Change will only happen when it originates from a change of one's heart. I hope this new reality might speed that process up for you.
Maya Angelou said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." The next part of this quote feels even more prescient. People know themselves much better than you do. That's why it's important to stop expecting them to be someone other than who they are.
As the leaders of the board and central administration at SU, you have shown me and the community exactly who you are, and by extension, what the university stands for: the status quo. I will try to stop expecting or hoping that you might be anything different.
To be clear, in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Ibram X. Kendi explains there is no such thing as not racist or neutral. One is either racist or one is anti-racist. An anti-racist actively fights against racism in all its forms, starting with a very personal journey to identify one's own racist thoughts and beliefs.
Your decision reflects your values and therefore leads to 3 unacceptable conclusions. 1, the leadership does not fully support the faculty's diversity, equity, and inclusion work in their classrooms. 2, the leadership is not committed to creating a safe learning environment for Black students and all students of color. And 3, the leadership is not committed to wielding its significant power to empower the marginalized people, many of whom are Black and brown, who live in Syracuse.
My conviction is a direct result of prayer and meditation, both of which lead to an open heart and a commitment to justice for all. I can no longer stay silent, and I've made it a point to listen hard to the voices of Black women and men, in books, on the screen, and also as I march the streets of Syracuse with them. I will use whatever power I have as a white woman to help accomplish the goals they have set forth. I am a supporting player, and I believe all white people must actively embrace that role. Of course, that means we must be willing to give up the privilege afforded to us because we are white. I have faith in Martin Luther King's prophecy that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. As a nation, we are clearly at a critical bend in that long arc. The question is, what might inspire you two, as leaders, to make your own personal shift towards justice?
Perhaps you will find courage when future college students and their parents decide they will not spend their money at an institution whose actions do not reflect an unequivocal belief that Black Lives Matter. The university's website states, the Board of Trustees is the governing body of Syracuse University, responsible for the institution's educational mission and fiscal policies. Members of the board guide the university toward its goals and vision and serve the public trust. My observation is that the board has failed to serve the public trust, and I predict that this failure will result in a slow but steady decline in revenue over the next several decades.
However, unless any change in future action is rooted in an authentic change in values, it will ring hollow. Until you open your hearts and affirm the value of Black lives, you won't fool anybody. My prayer is that you both will look to Black leaders in your community to guide you toward becoming anti-racist.
Then, together, you could create an authentic plan to engage with the rest of the board and central administration. For now, my attempt to communicate honestly with you is not making a difference, so I will stop. Your students, your faculty, your staff, and the entire Syracuse community would benefit from your change of heart, but only you can make that happen. Sincerely, Jennifer Masters, Syracuse resident.
From a campus-wide email from Chancellor Syverud sent on February 22nd, 2021, in regards to the finding of U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch's investigations of the University Department of Public Safety response to the Not Again SU student protest movement.
I received the report on Saturday morning and spent the weekend reviewing the findings and recommendations. Yesterday, I spoke with Ms. Lynch and thanked her for her team's diligence and effort. I am also grateful to our students, faculty, and staff who offered thoughtful and candid insights.
It is clear where we fell short. It is also clear that many of our students, particularly students of color, experience the hate incidents on our campus in deeply personal and distressing ways. At times, actions taken by the university, including by DPS, exacerbated that fear. We let you down. I am committed to ensuring we do better to rebuild and strengthen trust and mutual respect among our campus community.
I accept the conclusions outlined in the report and have directed the appropriate leaders to implement the recommendations. There is no endpoint to this work. It will evolve to meet the changing needs of our community. It requires open hearts and minds. It requires the humility to acknowledge when you haven't gotten things right and the resolve to get them right. And together, with grace, I know we will get there. Sincerely, Chancellor Kent Syverud.
From the report of independent counsel to Syracuse University regarding the Department of Public Safety, February 22nd, 2021.
The core conclusions Attorney General Lynch comes to in the investigation is that DPS was the front-facing representative of the will of the administration. The report states,
the issues that have come to the fore in our review of DPS include transparency, accountability, and communication, as well as translating good intentions into action and change.
If DPS was the public-facing will of the administration, then Attorney General Lynch's conclusions are just as much about the change needed in the administration as in DPS. But Chancellor Syverud, our current Board of Trustees, and Syracuse University is not alone in these needs for change.
There have been many universities and institutions that have been challenged this past year to make real change in terms of becoming anti-racist.
We don't want to be a Syracuse University wolf and just be part of the pack like so many other schools.
We hope we would be as unique as our mascot Otto and not be afraid to lead change in radically different, creative ways.
We are, after all, a Research One institution. We should be setting the bar for how we treat our underrepresented students, not waiting to see what our peer institutions do.
As we mentioned in the beginning of the episode, our research work into the history of Syracuse University has shown us that no one person or institution is all good or all bad. We're usually a complex mix of both.
Even though Chancellor Syverud and his administration has borne much of the blame for the mistreatment of underrepresented students here at Syracuse University during his time as chancellor, if you watched all 4 of our episodes of Impact Past, Present, Future, I think you would agree the roots of our problems predate his administration.
It predates everyone tuning into this webinar, and we've only just begun the work that needs to be done to keep bending that arc towards justice.
Meanwhile, this one last story from the past year gives me a little hope. From cnycentral.com, November 20th, 2019.
Syracuse, New York. During a meeting of the Student Senate Wednesday, Syracuse University Chancellor Kent Syverud became emotional while speaking candidly about the racism his family experienced while they lived in the South.
Syverud said parents, students, faculty, and staff have asked him how he could ever understand the pain of the recent racist incidents reported on campus.
I do understand it,
He said. Syverud then explained how he spent 6 years publicly fighting to allow affirmative action while living in the South and raising a mixed-race family.
Syverud's wife, Dr. Ruth Chen, is a professor of practice at Syracuse University's College of Engineering and Computer Science. They have 3 sons.
My kids' tires were my kids were threatened. My wife was subjected to many racial epithets. Their car tires were slashed. My kid's dog was shot. There was little investigation. Those responsible were never found. That was then. That was the South. It was hard for my wife, hard for my kids, but this is Syracuse. This is 2019. I do not accept this hatred here and now. This is not who Syracuse is at its best. It is not what we can let ourselves become.
In light of what happened in Atlanta last week, his story rings a little louder for me now. It gives me hope.
Gives me hope that in the next 10 years, we can bend the heck out of that arc and make Syracuse University live up to the ideals it has always held so high. The new university shall demonstrate the perfect harmony and indissoluble oneness of all that is valuable in the old and the new.
Person's color or political background or what others thought of them made no difference. If they were committed to learning, there was no reason to bar them from attending Syracuse University.
Any paper can be a better paper. Any student, a better student. Any university, a better university.
And with that knowledge, real work toward political change can begin here and across the country.
So what will the next 10 years bring us?
Well, once vaccinations are in full effect and we've finally gotten COVID under control, from deadline.com, February 2021.
Keenan Scott II's play, Thoughts of a Colored Man, has officially landed a venue, the Golden Theater, becoming the first new non-revival show to take up Broadway residence since the industry's pandemic shut down last March. The play, which enjoyed critically acclaimed runs in 2019 at Syracuse Stage and Baltimore Center Stage, will be directed by Steve H. Broadnax III.
It's the first play from Syracuse to go to Broadway.
I would like to see the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship be fully sustainable to promote accessibility and diversity every year.
I would like to see an expanded Indigenous Studies program that would make Doug George Canatio proud.
Did you know that all of the chancellors of Syracuse University have been white and all but one, Nancy Cantor, have been men? I would like to see a Black woman become Chancellor of SU.
I'd like to see a play about the Syracuse Eight.
I would like to see by saying Syracuse is racist.
What about you? What would you like to see in the Department of Drama or Syracuse University as a whole be like in 10 years? Write it in the chat.
While we wait for some to write in the chat, I'll say, I would love to see more BIPOC faculty across all departments, but especially in the Department of Drama.
I'd like to see clearer avenues of reporting and accountability for students that result in significant and lasting change.
I would like to see an ongoing conversation about bringing in BIPOC students and faculty.
I'd like to see more opportunities for students to engage with the community in more than just a service role, but potentially in internships and apprenticeships, those types of opportunities.
Does anybody from the audience see or have anything that they would like to see happen to Syracuse University or the Department of Drama? What it would be like to be like in the next 10 years?
Thanks.
Well, we can make this happen.
Yeah.
It's never too late to make an impact.
If we hold ourselves accountable, we can make an impact.
If we dare to live up to our ideals, we can make an impact.
If we can make our good intentions become good actions for change, we can make an impact.
Make an impact.
Great. If we can have all our panelists, performers come back. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining us this evening for the final performance of Impact Past, Present, Future. I just want to make sure that we have a little bit of time here to introduce all our wonderful researchers / performers this evening. Starting with, I guess, Whitney.
Hi, I'm Whitney Tenney Pack, and I am a community artist and a part-time instructor in the Department of Drama.
Alex.
I'm Alex Keene, and I'm a senior musical theater major.
Alyssa.
Hello, Alyssa Otoski-Kine. I am a local community artist here in Syracuse.
Corinne.
Hi, I'm Corinne Ferrer, and I'm a sophomore acting major at Syracuse.
Great. And again, I'm just going to pop into the chat real fast, the link to donate to the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship. This is the last couple of days here of the official fundraising, but as we mentioned in the beginning, we're always going to be able to make a donation to this so important scholarship anytime in the future. So just make sure that you specify that you'd like your funds to go to the Felix E. Cochran Jr. Memorial Scholarship.